everyone. I'm Steve. Mark's finishing up his class today, and this is Smokey, Steve, and Mark. Either welcome or welcome back, and happy Saturday. It is the weekend, so we know what that means. This is Bougie Instant Coffee, which was a gift, and it's a delicious gift. And actual heavy cream, because we had left over from baking, and Splenda, because I think that offsets everything. So, it's not bad. It's not bad. So I hope everyone is well. I hope everybody is safe. Look after yourselves, okay? Things are starting to, open up around us. And at the end of May, everything opens up. We just have to wear a mask in Pennsylvania, which is very exciting, because even though I had zero social life before, at least I had an excuse during COVID. We'll see. Maybe Mark and I'll be out and about. So today is a little bit different. I put a poll up, and thank you all for voting, those who had, about what kind of video to do today. Because I watched most of the content, actually. I've been watching during the week as we went, and it was many, many, many hours of our fair lady, Chantal Marie, Foodie Beauty, Big Beautiful Me, The Daily Chantal, Chantopolis, The Chantal Show, and now Foodie Beauty again. Hours and hours of her being high on camera. Now, I'm not particularly triggered. I'm in recovery. I have been since about 2014, I guess? The madness stopped in 2012. At least in and out of rehabs and stuff like that. So it's been a good run. There's been hiccups, of course. I was in the hospital maybe about a year and a half ago, right before COVID started. So I have some experience with recovery, the systems that come with it, the people who have it, the people who don't, things that come with it. And it gets discussed, actually, because Chantal has been such a frequent user of substances on camera and has been rather forthright about it in her life off camera as well, which is where we left off last week, where she had gone over for a 3-day date. Those are normally called benders, where she used a lot of illegal substances. You know, some that she asked for, some that were just hanging out, because I always keep a pipe of meth in my ashtray, and some Molly that she requested. I mean, these things that happened all together. And the question was coming up was, well, is she, is Chantal a drug addict? She seems to be doing it a whole lot. Addiction's in my wheelhouse because, like I said, I have some time in recovery. So to me, maybe I have some life experience, so maybe it looks a little different to me. Some of the stuff that makes sense to me might not make sense to some people. I might be empathetic to stuff that I probably shouldn't be. Let's put that on the table first, too. That, which basically means it sounds like somewhere between enabling and excuse making. And that very well could be. I am not perfect at this. I've always said I was, I liked Chantal more than I didn't. But this is exposing something about her that I hadn't thought of before. So, last week's video, the last one with the whole thing, I just want to touch on it briefly. Because all the things she said in that video were undone and reframed, resaid. A few things were lied about or conveniently forgotten. And we're at the end of this week now, where she's had ended. We're not going to go video by video with this video. We're going to touch on some of the things that went. She had a relationship, according to her, sort of, with this 3-day staycation. And then it was too much for her because she was sick from the substances she used and said it wasn't a good idea and she should never do it again. And then he blocked her or she blocked him. It's hard to tell what the truth is there. And then there was an unblocking and plans to go again, and it was like nothing had ever happened. Like she was never sick. Like she was never unsafe. Like none of that stuff had ever occurred to her. Like none of that stuff had occurred, but she was in that position. So I swear I'll never do it again. I made bad decisions about things to put in my body. Way to circle the airport there, honey. That's good. I've started a lot of therapy sessions with that. You kill 10 minutes until you tell everyone what you actually did. It works good to stretch in YouTube time, too, but whatever. I was not a fan. She said, I wanted to try. He's not really a druggie. He can just get stuff. I'll come back to that. I didn't realize I could have overdosed, but I also knew what I was doing. Just that one. It was just that one. That's all it takes is just that one, and you can't not realize overdose consequences not knowing what you're doing. People who research their makeup to see if they put it on bunnies or feed it to animals before they put it on, much more caution about the shade of the content of what's going on your face than whatever's in the random pipe on the table. I'm saying shitty decisions when I'm taking that tone. I don't want to go like this, even though I want to go like this, because the part of my personality that's kind of empathetic is like, it's gonna get so shitty so fast for you, and you don't even know, and it seems like you don't care, so why should I care? But, you know, this is, I put 2 years into this woman, I'm not giving up now, so, won't do it again. I don't have meth handy, like I said. So many people's lives are ruined by these drugs. I'm disappointed in myself. Don't act like you're somehow outside the loop. Once you put your lips to a pipe, especially, you know, in some places you can legally do certain substances. And she's done those, and it seems to have escalated, and she's done those for about the last month or so. It's what made a lot of these videos kind of hard to watch this week. So, I'm a beezer, I'm not a saint. And again, last week I said I think beezer is a little too cutesy to describe the behavior that's been going on. You know, addicted or not, she's using substances and talking about using illegal substances, which seem to be very easy to get by this person, and calling it beezing. I don't know. So, before we go into this week's thing, I have like 4 or 5 bullet points I wanted to pull out. And essentially, it'll encompass some of the drama and some of the narrative of what was going on this week. So, a couple things first. 1, talking about substances. So, that's going to come up. I don't do trigger warnings, really, I say, but use your own judgment. As a heads up, we're talking about some substances, maybe some sexual stuff that could be uncomfortable, not provocative, maybe some uncomfortable things. So, and it won't be about her. I'll be telling you something about myself. So there's that. I'm not a professional when it comes to drug and alcohol use. I lived it. I lived during it. I remember I've talked to people who were around during it, and they told me what it was like for them when I was going through it. I've had some time away from it, so I can share from there. And I've said before, I see a lot of myself in Chantal. Behaviors, even some of her personality, the really unflattering parts, which to me says you can either bury them or get over them, because I certainly don't, I hope I don't carry on like her. My bad day video was probably the closest I got. I went into self-pity for about 10 minutes of it. So, moving forward. Now, Chantal's use of substances. Beyond the edibles, though eating edibles every single day. I mean, they make dietary recommendations for how many glasses of wine are good. You know, it's 2 for men, 1 for women, whatever. So, adding in, you know, maybe having an edible a day? I don't know. Whatever her goal would be. But whatever feeling she wanted, it seems like the edibles weren't doing it. Otherwise, she wouldn't have chased it somewhere else. She could have found a guy who didn't have drugs in the house. Chantal doesn't need to be that desperate. You know, she really doesn't. And I'm not trying to talk down to her. In the situation she's in, she's a woman of means. You know, she cleans up nice. She's got a job. She's got a place to live. She's got a car. You know, she would be any scrub's dream. And it seems like, unfortunately, now she is. Use, abuse, and dependence. So these categories. Now, these are some of the older categories and some of the older language people use for addiction. Officially now, it's substance use disorder. That's the appropriate way. And I would describe myself as a person in long-term recovery. These are a lot of words so that people don't get upset about the language. Okay, but since we're talking, first of all, I'll talk about myself anyway, I damn well please. Second of all, I'm not going to trip over the language too much, but please know that those are like the polite, appropriate, respectful things to do. But I may refer to myself and use the word addict, alcoholic, and other things as I'm speaking, okay? It's shorthand, I think people kind of understand those things. And if not, we'll go through it. So, my opinion. Okay, you use substances, you're using them. Okay, abusing them. Going hard on them. We'll just say, for the sake of variety, we'll say coke. Using it. I don't know. There's no casual coke use, I guess. Maybe in the 70s there might have been. No consequences. Just a good time. Abuse. Starting to have consequences with this. You know, things are getting undone. Relationships might get broken. It could interfere with work. It could interfere with raising children. It could interfere with any sort of stuff like that. But there's maybe not physical dependence, a higher tolerance yet of that sort of thing. And then you get to dependence, which is, you know, can't live without it, need more and more every time to get high. And it's, I don't think I'd put her, again, me, Steve, who isn't a doctor, okay? I don't know if you put together the edibles and and the other drugs, and we'll see if it escalates further. I mean, would I have thought meth? No. Extra sidebar. I'm talking as if everything Chantal said was true. That is foolish. But for the sake of this narrative, we're talking about it. If she is faking this and just making up stuff around substance use, and it's kind of like it's fun, and then screw her, it's a lousy narrative. But we'll go on as if it's true. Okay. My opinion, it's abuse she's doing now. Hurts her body, puts her in dangerous situations, elevates risk of using, all that kind of stuff. So, let's see. Consequences? I don't see Pete's much. Pete's didn't get a shower. He was like, hi, bye. He's been around. I get the feeling, and I've done this to people. Okay, when the edibles first came in the house, there was like one, maybe two, where Pete's had one, or maybe didn't, and he was a little silly. And they probably had fun that night. And I wonder if she had designs on, man, we could do this all the time, and we'll just be like, household stoners, and we'll be buddies. I used to do this when I would meet new friends. I'd be like, let's get a bottle and hang out tonight. And we would drink and hang out. They don't drink 5 nights a week like I used to. They wouldn't drink 6 nights. They wouldn't go to brunch on a Wednesday. They wouldn't go to the bar at noon. I didn't do things like other people did. Like, Pete's, if he had 1 or 2 edibles, uses edibles. He's not eating handfuls of them. He seems to still be working. He seems to still be a productive person. It's not getting in the way of anything else for him right now, so that's using it. And what she's doing is, I'm not going to say she should worry about her reputation or anything. I mean, we're talking about Chantal. She hasn't done herself too many favors in that area anyway. But, anyway. And putting herself in dangerous situations. I said last week I used the word stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. And that was not a kind word to use, and I apologize, Chantal, if you're watching. It's not okay to call you stupid. Where that came from was the idea of being intoxicated in a place with strangers, where there was discussion of sexual activity, probably back and forth a little bit first. Such an unsafe situation to be in. So unsafe. I had an experience when it was in 2007, I was still drinking, and that was just the beginning of my drinking. I mean, that was about a third of how much I used to drink later. Talked to a guy online, met him at a bar, we chit-chatted. I still wanted to keep drinking when last call came, so he said, well, come back to my place, we'll have some drinks there. I said, oh, okay, left my car at the bar, got into his car. I didn't know where he lived. I didn't know where I was. We get there, I remember looking at his place, it looked like a log cabin or something, and then he made me a drink, and then I blacked out. Now, I think I blacked out because of the amount of drinking I did, and then you pour one on top. I don't think I was roofied. But my memory shut off, and it shut back on around 4 in the morning, and I was in a compromising position. Okay. One that I wouldn't have been in had I been sober, we'll say. And then I get up again, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and he's getting dressed and handed me a cup of coffee and said, get in my car, I'm driving you back. And I was acutely aware that I had sex without my knowledge. So I didn't, I wasn't that kind of guy. He was 130 pounds soaking wet, and he was 5'8". At the time, I'm 6'1". Or no, not 6'1". 6 foot, and I was 250 pounds at the time. No one would have believed me, I thought, so I didn't tell anybody. Chantal's a 350-pound woman, and these guys sound like crackheads, because they are. And they have the stereotypical crackhead build, apparently, of being extremely thin. Don't think that doesn't mean something couldn't happen to her. That's something, and who would believe her? Women have a very difficult time being believed. I didn't think anyone would believe me, so I shut up. And the first thing you'd start to hear, which was what I was afraid I would hear, was, told you so. We told you something bad would happen if you went out and did that, and then it did. I didn't want to hear I told you so I shut up. Now, my perspective looking back, my fault I got drunk. I was in the middle of addiction, I knew I had a problem, and I was ignoring it and just going full long into drinking. So, my fault I got drunk, his fault I got raped. In the position she's putting herself in risky situations. For her personal safety, I think her physical safety, bruises. And I don't think it's a good place to be in. I would hope she'd be more thoughtful. Even if she's just scripting a story, I hope she'd be more thoughtful to include weird details like that. But nevertheless. Co-occurrence. Okay, when a person has a mental health concern and a substance use disorder at the same time, they call it a co-occurring disorder. So you have Just like it sounds. They used to call it dual diagnosis, but that's what they refer to for someone who has an intellectual disability and a mental health issue. We have a lot of words. Let's see. So, co-occurrence with her having a mental health issue, she says she has depression and deals with anxiety. And then she would be abusing substances. Now, she wouldn't be the first person to try to deal with mental health concerns by abusing substances to self-medicate. It's curious that she said she doesn't like speedy things and then took Molly and chased it with meth, but that's neither here nor there. Or that she would take, well, I guess the THC makes sense. At any rate, does she have a mental illness other than she's said? People have suggested over a long period of time, and this is a way to diffuse blame, that Chantal might have some sort, it's part of her personality. It is not an addiction, she is not depressed. This is just who she is, and who she is just awful. She's just an awful person. And there's a couple ways people come about at her behaviors. There's, she's mentally ill. She's addicted to everything. So when they gave her a shot and she couldn't eat anymore, she started eating edibles. And when the edibles weren't doing it for her anymore, so it's part of her personality. It just goes one thing to the next. You might call that an addictive personality. You might just say that she's rabidly selfish, kind of a hedonist, and whatever makes me feel good in the moment, I'll go do it and fuck you. That's part of it too. So, like I said, she said just depression, anxiety. There's a couple I could guess at. Half of them are usually diagnosed in children or teenagers. I can tell you I have bipolar disorder, bipolar 1, substance use disorder in remission, and EDNOS. It's OSFED now. Eating disorder not otherwise specified, because I've had ongoing issues with food. More thinking than behaviors now. Off and on. Since I was, 8. So, another point. The idea of a good person with a bad disease. Okay, good person, bad disease. This is how a lot of people try to diffuse family members and try to have them say, especially if a person in the family who has an addiction, who's been very damaging to the family with it, they would say, your family member's a good person, they just have a really bad disease. Okay, that's not always the case. Let me give you an example. I was in rehab for the 4th time, probably. I was at this place twice. And there was a gentleman, and because it's an anonymous program, I don't do 12-step programs now. They're great for some people. I went to one for 2 years right out of rehab. I don't regret going at all, but I don't regret that I don't go now either. There's a lot of ways people get well. And his name was Rick. Okay, and Rick had 30 years clean. Now, Rick would get up and talk for an hour at a speaker meeting, and he'd spend half an hour telling us how humble he was. If you spend half an hour bragging about humility, that's not humility. That doesn't... Also, he would say that his children, some of them, still wouldn't talk to him because they were very upset about things that happened during his addiction. He's been sober 30 years. If his kids are still mad at him, it's not because he's an addict, it's because he's an asshole. And if you've met him, you'd agree. So, the idea that people who deal with mental health and addiction and other things like that are under the surface kind, good, honest, regular people who just have these black clouds following them that make us act bad, or think bad, or talk bad, or in a way that isn't, I don't know, socially acceptable. Something like that. Not always the case. I can be a pretty big bastard when I'm symptomatic, and I can also do it when I'm sober. Give you another example. Let's say we're talking about politics. Yeah, we're not, but let's say me and another person are. And let's say I'm particularly manic that day. So I'm hyperverbal, talking. And as I'm speaking with a person, I'm talking over them and talking over them and talking over them the whole time. Now, that's rude. I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm having rapid-fire speech as part of my bipolar disorder. So even though I've disrupted this conversation and disrespected this person, I didn't do it deliberately. Now, on any other day, I could be just having a nice day, and someone starts a discussion about something, and I start talking over them and talking over them. That's not me having a mental illness. That's me being an asshole. None of us are perfect. None of us have, 100% days. And it is also not okay to blame everything on addiction or mental illness. It's not okay, because not everything falls under that. A person can have a glaringly awful personality and then have some health issues on top. And then when they're resolved, all they're missing is those other issues. There's still ick underneath. I'm not saying Chantal is good, bad, or ick underneath, because I don't think she's always been eating. She's always been plugging herself up with something that I don't think I've met her yet. I don't think anybody has. She's either as awful as she seems to a lot of people. I take her with a grain of salt, because I don't think she doesn't have her shit together. For any number of reasons, she doesn't have her shit together, so I don't look unkindly on Chantal. But how could you not? You know what I mean? For some folks, how could you not? She wasn't, the idea of being underneath. Now, she was no day at the park before she started eating either, so this kind of attitude predates the drug use. So, is that just part of her personality, or does that come with the addiction? Well, one could argue she was always addicted to food, so she always had that kind of personality. Is she having some overlapping ones with maybe other stuff? Again, co-occurring. It's hard to pull things apart. Or, is there nothing to pull apart? This is just who she is. I want more. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I want to feel better, 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 better. The more the better. More food, more substances, more Uber Eats, more edibles, more sex, more attention, more this, more that. So it's not about being addicted to anything specific as much as the attention that comes with it. Is that a possibility? I'm just talking out loud here. Again, all I know is me. But when I say I relate to Chantal, I can understand a certain amount of being manipulative. She's quite manipulative. One thing that makes me think she has some addictive tendencies is that addiction turns people on their backs sometimes. She's not a kid. She's not 19. She's 37. And Chantal tries to be manipulative. A lot of her viewers see through it in the comment section and stuff. I was quite manipulative when I was out there in my using. Now, when you catch an addiction, or are born that way, whatever you think causes addiction, moral, habit, whatever you think, it almost doesn't matter. Decent people who are, I like to think I'm a decent guy, you may disagree, it's okay, get flipped on their head. Because addiction demands attention. It demands to be fed. So take me, who has maybe a decent vocabulary, and I like to tell a story, and take that to an evil end to try to get drunk at noon on a Tuesday, I will steal your purse and then help you look for it. And I will give you very eloquent reasons why you should give me $50. I'd gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Because addiction demands to be fed. And I will do whatever I need to do to get whatever I need to get, to go get it. She's going over there and doing drugs at this guy's house. Do I think she's paying for them? No. Do I think she's having sex with him? Maybe. Women get a hard time in the realm of addiction. They get a bad rap. I went to jail before, and there was a lot of guys, and it didn't seem like it was a very big deal if guys did trashy things when they were trying to get high or get drunk. Women, there'd be this clutching of pearls of you did this, you did that, how did you abandon your children? I knew guys who had 7 kids by 7 women, and they didn't know where any of them were. But if a woman does it, it's an ungodly sin. So it's an unfair judgment back and forth. But, where was I going with that? If I were a young girl with a serious drug problem, I would do what I needed to do to get what I needed to get. You couldn't pry me off the stripper pole. If I had, good curves, I'd be selling it. I'd be selling it because I need what I need. You'd have to drag me off the corner, my ratchet self, trying to sell it. Because I would have done whatever I needed to do. I wouldn't have been too proud to do it, either. I wouldn't have been too proud to do it, and I wouldn't have been too proud to do it. You know what I mean? So, and again, this is the last point I want to touch on. Personality versus addict behavior. Now, the behavior she's shown, which fall under a lot of different things. She's in denial and she's defensive. How do we know? Because she was sick as a dog for a few days because of all the unhealthy things she put in her body. To the point where she pretty much ate and did edibles all week to come down off the meth. Immature? Kind of. I can get a little. What happens is I get really smug and superior when I feel cornered or corrected. It's so bad. I get into such a childish mood. It's terrible. I'm working on it, but I've been working on it for years, and we'll see. Dishonest, risk-taking. Where are you going? Where have you been? Hanging out with the wrong people. Are these helping you get further? Are these guys helping you get further to your goals? And I don't mean career goals or buy your own house. I mean, if the goal is to have a relationship or to meet some new friends, is the goal to just experiment with drugs? And these people are easy access to them, and it's not even about them. It's just about you and getting what you want. I don't know. It's hard to guess at her motives. There's about 3, 4, 5 explanations I can think of for what she's doing right now. So is she even really all the things we've heard all along? The food addict, the depression, the anxiety, the attention seeking, the extreme behavior, the medical issues every so often, real or imagined or exaggerated. Is all that stuff happening and she just has a very complicated makeup, which makes her do all these things that are kind of hard to pin down? Or is this just her? She likes to feel good all the time. And when she starts to feel not good, she finds the first thing closest to her to feel better. I mean, who doesn't want to feel better? I like feeling better. Who doesn't? So anyway, by the way, Mark's here.
Hey everybody!
Mark's home.
I'm back.
Now it is officially a video. Now it's officially a video. Now that you're here.
Okay, good. Yeah, and I just want to tell everybody I'm done with class.
He finished.
I finished.
And he even brought cupcakes, which y'all should have watched last night. So, what have we wrought with Chantal? Well, I don't know if we came to any conclusions today talking. Kind of threw out a number of different possibilities. She's acting, she's playing with substances. Does she have a substance use issue? She has a very distinct personality. Would that still be there? Is that a function of her addiction? Or if she was not using it all, would it still be there? It was there before these all came into place when she was just chowing down. So, has she always been like this? Has she always just been a pleasure-seeking, I do what I want to do, F you, screw the rest of you, and then be contrite for 2 days and go back to it? It sounds like from her own story she's been doing that since she was a teenager, and she needed residential help at a certain point. So she's had some challenges. I've had some challenges. People do snap out of it. That kind of getting out of the manipulative, getting one over on people, F you to judge me stuff, that takes a huge personality change to get over. I'm talking like years of therapy. Inpatient therapy, group therapy. It's not hard to find some pills and a good therapist, and I mean it can be hard. I don't mean to dismiss that. To get traditional medical treatments and work on depression and have some skills to take care of yourself with it. But they don't make pills for personality disorders generally. So if this is just how she is, it's just how she is. I guess it's love it or leave it as far as she's concerned. I don't know. I'm just watching the show and reporting what I see with what I know about what I think might be going on with her. So that's my little opinion about Miss Chantal. My hopes for her? I don't know. Sometimes she watches, sometimes she doesn't. She probably thinks I'm too smug now, which is fine. It's whatever. You are too. Time to time. Let's fair is fair. Knock it off. Knock it off. There are so many other experiences in life, and I'm going to sound like a friggin' hippie now, but there are so many other experiences in life that are, like, fulfilling and can bring you to a point of ecstasy and, help you just look at the clouds and not smoke them, that are available to us. That substances don't have to give us that false feeling, that we can seek out those real ones and have them. So that's out there for her. That's out there for any of us to have. Some people it's more challenging than others. She lives in an area with a lot of resources. If she identified a problem, she'd go deal with it. In this time of telehealth, it's very easy to say you're going to do something and not do it, or blow it off, because there's no responsibility to leave the house and go anywhere at the moment. I'm curious as to how strict Chantal will keep her COVID restrictions, even when the numbers come down, just because she's a homebody, to put it nicely. We'll see. We'll see. I'm here for it. I hope you're here for it. I hope you like this little bit different style of a video. This is not the traditional coffee talk video. We'll be going back next week to play by play, blow by blow, smoke by smoke. This is not going to be monetized. So anyway, thank you all for watching. Please do subscribe, hit the notification bell, and the thumbs up on your way out so you get alerts when we have new videos and also when we go live. You can follow us on Facebook at SmokeySteveAndMarc, or on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc, or on Twitter at SmokeySteveA. Our email address and our contact information is also listed below as well. Thank you again, and we will catch up with you tomorrow night, 6 p.m. We go live. It's usually pretty chill. We have good mods. Smaller crowd, 100-ish, give or take. So don't hesitate. Please come by and say howdy. Thanks for watching. Bye.